Yeah, I've seen in chat groups, foreigners get angry, and a lot of the time their anger is because they expect things to be the same as they are in their own country, and they're not. For example, over the years there's been a number of people expelled for smoking marijuana, and then they go, "Oh, I was only smoking marijuana. What's the big problem?" Because maybe that's okay, and it's seen as a lesser offence in their own country, but then when they do it here and they're caught and they're kicked out, it's like, look at China. But unfortunately, the rules here are that if smoking marijuana is illegal, and the punishment is that if you're a foreigner, you get deported. So these are the kind of things where sometimes, that's probably taken it to the extreme, but there are lots of other small things, rules that they have here that we don't have in the UK. And I think some foreigners struggle to understand that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that with sort of the people I've surrounded myself with and people I've met in bars and such. There's two very different types of people that come here. There's the ones that were quite happy to stay longer because they enjoy it and they have an open mind to a different way of life and a different culture. And then you've got the other people who just come with the most closed mind, and like you said, they're just not open to anything being a different way. Maybe the etiquette or the penalties for certain things, or just the way things are done. They just can't seem to open their mind to the fact that, especially coming to China as well, it's a very different culture, and it's very obvious that's a fact. And a lot of people just can't handle that, and they end up getting on a plane and leaving very quickly.
Can I say something? I'm not having a go at the Chinese, but maybe for your Chinese listeners, a slight piece of advice. Back in the 80s, 90s, the rest of the world had a great deal of respect for Chinese people. Ollie's frozen. Lee, are you still there?
Right. Yeah, I'm good. Just carry on.
Okay. The rest of the world had a great deal of respect for all Chinese people. Now, the main reason for that was the only Chinese that could travel were well-educated and wealthy people. Mm-hmm. And because of their education, they were well-behaved and respected by the locals back in the Western countries. What's happened over the last 10 years, a lot of, forgive me for saying this, uneducated Chinese people have become extremely wealthy. And as a result, they are traveling around the world with their grandparents' attitudes. They might be spitting, they might be, eating poorly, crossing the road. Now, when they travel, forgive me if I'm sounding like I'm insulting the Chinese, I'm not. They go to a Western country and they are expecting Chinese rules in Western countries when they're not abiding by the Western culture. And as a result, there's a lot of disrespect in, let's say America. We've seen some Chinese in Western countries, particularly America and Australia, buying up all the masks and openly saying they don't care. This is not an intelligent person to do this. This is just a selfish person. Yeah.
Just put in here because there was an interesting story about that. There was one particular woman, Chinese woman in America, and she was going around buying all the masks up, and she was kind of boasting about it on her WeChat.
Yeah,
she was obviously selling them on. And she thought she was being clever, but what actually happened when it went viral on social media here, there was a big backlash against her by Chinese people. And so she then made another video sort of going, she was trying to get everybody to feel sorry again for saying, look, I'm here. I'm just trying to feed my children, and it's really hard in America because I haven't got my friends around me and all that. So she's been caught out, and it was interesting how she was actually attacked by many Chinese people for doing that as well.
That's good.
For doing what she was doing, which is good, yeah.
We're all, everyone should realize this, your YouTube listeners and us and anyone who travels to any country, you are in fact an ambassador for your country. What you do has a reflection on the rest of your country. Yeah, and they think they're individuals, but they may be. but others are going to be tarnished with the same brush.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, I think it's always important to abide by the rules of that country. When in Rome, as they say,
drive crazy.
I do feel there's a lot of foreigners who come to China and think that they can just do as they please because they're in a foreign country. And then when they realize they can't because the authorities sort of step on them, they get all upset about it, and I think that's a bit of a silly attitude, really. I mean, there's many things over time that have frustrated me about China. And initially, I used to get a bit more wound up about it, but now I've just come to realize, well, that's their way. It ain't for me to change it, So you just accept it. And sometimes just because they have different ways, there's different procedures, there's different systems here that you're just not that used to.
Yeah, it's definitely the culture difference is one that you've just got to kind of try and experience it yourself if you can, because now that I've seen both, I can understand why, calling back in my mind's eye about events that happened in England and involving a Chinese person and seeing how they acted. It now makes me understand because I've been here and seen the way things are done. So if they're just visiting as a tourist and maybe they don't know too much of the culture or the etiquette or whatever, you can sort of get more of an understanding as to why certain things are done in a different way.
When I was back in the UK on my last trip, for some unknown reason, I saw this Chinese woman at the King's Cross station in London, and I went up to her and I said, "Ni hao ma, ni jiao什么名字?" Just like asking her what's her name and where she's, can she help me? And I spoke in Chinese. I ain't got a bloody clue what you're saying. She grew up in London. So I couldn't believe it, but wow, what a donkey, So it's embarrassing.